Okay, welcome to the CrossFit Canada podcast, where we tell the stories of Canadian affiliate owners and coaches, and we may have one of the best on today. We have so excited to have Caroline Lambray on today to hear her story. But first, what we do is it's like if you came and dropped into my affiliate, we do question of the day.
Oh.
So it's going to be introduce yourself, your affiliate, and I mean, if someone doesn't know, I can give the spoiler alert away. You happen to coach the world's fittest man. So I want to know best, and I'll have to answer to what my best, what my answer would be, but best, your favorite competition that you guys have been to in all these things.
Ooh.
Okay, so I always tell people start with the easy stuff first while you're thinking, and then.
So Caroline Lambray, owner and coach at CrossFit Wonderland. And so hard.
You can use like it doesn't like if it's the Rogue Invitational, it can be like the first year versus the third year.
That's what I'm trying to. I'm like, am I gonna just like lump them all together, or am I going to separate them? I mean, the Rogue Invitational, like definitely, like Rogue has a very special place for him and me, and just like our history together. Sure. I would also kind of have to say like the 2020 games, because I think he has a lot of like the fun sound bites, and like that's when kind of like people discover Jeff, and like our whole French conversation. Like it was such a private event. Like that was pretty.
Yeah. That's the year that you out coached to win the total against Matt Fraser?
Yeah.
Right? Was it the difference of 5 pounds?
Something like that, 5 or 7. Like it was really like just a accounting, like arithmetic.
Yeah. So that's cool. I haven't competed at any of those, but locally in Ontario, we have the UG Games, and it used to be in Wasaga Beach, if you've ever been up this way, and it was actually on the beach, and they had a rig in the water one year.
Oh, wow.
So it was, we just had monkey bars, and of course, naturally, my girlfriend at the time needed sunscreen on her back as I'm waiting for the event to start. So you trudge out into it's knee deep water, and then jump up, whoop, slip right off.
Oh God.
So, and then next thing I'm always excited to hear about is how did you get into CrossFit? What's your CrossFit origin story?
Yeah, my CrossFit origin story. I actually started at it was a CrossFit type class, CrossFit type programming, but like actually in a global gym, like in a regular gym. I'd played sports like a lot throughout school and just like always been active. And then I left for a year, went to teach in Japan. And when I came back, like I was just trying to reestablish some sort of like training regiment routine. And I just happened to like try this class because I was trying out that gym and like trying their yoga class and all the different classes in the gym in general. And so I don't actually remember like my first workout because it wasn't necessarily a girls or anything like that, but the stimulus and just the intensity, basically, I think like everybody else is what caught me. And from there, I was like, okay, cool. Like I'm signing up for this gym. Like I want to do this class specifically. So that was, that's how I got into CrossFit.
What year was that? And was this in Montreal? Like you from, because your affiliate's in Montreal. So this is in Montreal.
Yeah, I'm from Montreal. So I had left, came back to Montreal, living downtown. It was called Club Mansfield. They eventually affiliated in 2013, I think. But that was 2010 for me.
Okay.
10. Yeah.
So doing CrossFit style, we won't send IP theft after them and backdate things. We'll cut that out. How long were you still there when they became an affiliate, or had you since moved on and ended up at another affiliate?
I ended up at another affiliate. So I was there for probably close to 2 years. And then the coach that was there mentioned that the level 1 was coming to town. So I was like, oh, awesome. Like, you know, he had seen my passion and I was like diving into fitness and stuff, and suggested it. And then I took my level 1 in December 2012. And then level 2, which is called Coaches Prep, back then in January 2013. Flew to California to take that. And then I started applying to boxes. So by the spring of 2013, I was working at CrossFit Montreal and CrossFit Kappa. And I think the gym that I was at affiliated later in 2013 or maybe early 2014. Like, I'm not sure. I ended up like going full circle and coaching there later on in my career. But yeah, that's how I kind of like went.
So let me hit those dates again. December of 2012, you got your level 1. And then January of 2013, you went and did the coach's prep course.
Yep.
For those who don't know, the coach's prep course is pretty intense.
Yeah.
It's a lot. So
I got smacked around. It was funny.
Well, and so like, is that your personality type?
A little bit. So like when I took my level 1, and like I said, like where I was training was not a box, right? So the community, like all of that is very different. But when I took my level 1, I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. Like, I actually want to coach CrossFit. I knew there wasn't going to be like opportunities at that time at that gym. So I was like, well, now I need to get out in the world and learn what a box is and all of that. Yeah. And I was like, well, how am I going to get a leg up to apply and like kind of look different, just like on the CV, like on my resume. So that was one thing. And then the other thing, obviously, I was like, okay, well, all I have is a level 1. I want to make sure that I'm doing things right from the beginning. So like if you're taking a level 1, they always suggest that you coach for 6 months to a year and a half, like, and eventually like get your hands dirty a little bit and then come to your level 2. And I was like, I mean, I want to do it right from the start. So I was like, I'm just going to do it now. And like I said, I wouldn't recommend that for everyone, because like I got there and they're like, what are the points of performance of like blah, blah, blah. And like they got me like coaching right away. And I was like, I don't know how to coach. Like, that's what I want you to tell me. So I just got a lot of feedback and just like had to learn really, really quickly. But I think it set me up for success later on.
Yeah. Do you recall anything specific that, looking back on it now, and I mean, we can talk about you've recently passed your level 4. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Because I'm sure it's like, that was
so
journey
long.
that I'm guessing the passing of the level 4 journey started at your coach's prep course.
Kind of. Yeah. And I know it went through some iterations as well. So like the one that I did might be different from what other people have experienced, and like different from the level 2 as well. Sure. I just like a lot of it was just like you had to coach, and I was just like, I don't know how. And you just had to figure it out. And I was like, all right. And just got so much feedback. Like that's what I remember from that class, and just like taking notes, like basically failing every breakout group and just like not being good at anything, but getting so much feedback. And I was like, okay, like I know what I need to practice. I know like what the plus and the minus is, like what, like I knew the theory, but the coaching and the delivery and like, no, you need to be quicker. You need to like do this. You need to be more concise. Like just drilling that in 1 month in, I think really, really helped me.
Yeah. You couldn't go in, because I think there's, feedback can be hard to hear, and it can be harder to hear when there's ego attached to it. But sounds like you went in with no ego and were just like, okay.
I mean, also I couldn't, because like I knew I was like fresh off the boat. So I think it was like a little bit of luck in that regards, because like I was taking it with people in 2013 who had been coaching since 2007, like the early people of like the OGs. They were coming in to do their coaches prep, and they had years of experience. And I also noticed like you also can develop bad habits. So for them, it was like hard to break. It's like, well, I'm used to coaching this way. I'm used to coaching this way. And then it's like, you have to break the habit. So I was bad, but I was also fresh, right? It's like, well, do you want to teach the squat from scratch and just keep improving from there, or like get someone who knows how to squat, but then you have to kind of change everything. So there's plus and minuses to both, but that's kind of how it went for me. It was like, I was just tell me how I should be doing this.
Yeah. So then it's January of 2013, and you come back, and then you bounce around to a couple different affiliates over the next few years, or did you settle into one?
So I settled into, I was very lucky. So I was at CrossFit Montreal. I would coach there. I had the evenings, and then I would do some mornings at CrossFit Kappa. And that lasted, like I probably did that for almost a year. And then I really wanted to be like full-time in one box. Like if you've been part-time, or if you've bounced around, like it's really hard just on your schedule and things like that. So then I ended up being like more full-time at Kappa.
And then how long, what's the journey between that and CrossFit Wonderland, and to the point where you become owner of CrossFit Wonderland?
So my goal, like my original goal when I did my level 1 was to be on seminar staff.
Sure.
Like I think a lot of people, like, you just see the red shirts and you're like, oh my God, that looks amazing. And that's what I want to be a part of. So like, training a games athlete or owning an affiliate, like I just wanted to be the best coach that I could be. So I worked at different boxes, and just like along the way, eventually like met Jeff, just like things weren't working out. And I was like, well, can I do this? Like, do I want to kind of like just like jump in fresh and like figure it out as I go? So that was after I met Jeff, and, kind of thought about it for almost a year. And I was like, oh, do we want to do this? And it was like, yes, like let's try. So we opened our affiliate in February 2017. So I coached for other people from 2013 to, I'd say, about 2016, even 17, because like I went back to Mansfield, coached there, CrossFit, and then like eventually like that's the last place that I was at before I opened CrossFit Wonderland.
Did you meet Jeff at a CrossFit affiliate?
Yeah, another one.
At a different one, and then
yeah.
And then was it just two people crazy about each other and crazy about CrossFit?
Oh no, not at all. If people have heard her origin story, like, and I think we exaggerated a little bit. He would just like kind of do his own thing. I was coaching, like he was finishing work. It wouldn't always line up, and so he'd be late and just be like, "Well, like I need you to be on time." So, and they had redesigned, like revamped the gym, so there was like a little bit of a open gym type area that was like separate. So he would go there and stuff, and then eventually we ended up like he had more time off work, and we had like it was in between classes that we got to like talk and just like calm down. And I was like, oh, okay, like he is nice, and I guess he thought I was nice, and then we ended up like contacting each other and dating, and it went from there.
Yeah, well, because was it the first year in Madison that Jeff volunteered?
So he volunteered in 2016 at the game. Okay. So the last one in Carson for the 10th year anniversary. Okay. So that was really cool because it was the 10th year and they did like a bunch of stuff. And then we also got to do the first year in Madison in 2017. And that's when he was like, I'm not volunteering again. I volunteered again in 18 at the games. And then he made it in 19. He was like, please don't volunteer while I'm doing this. I was like, fine.
Well, I guess because just what I think is like, I wonder about being, clearly, as you said right from the beginning, you were inspired by the red shirts and you had this goal, and then he had his aspirations as well. And it's like, how are you both very goal driven people?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I think it comes out probably very differently. I would say like more goal oriented or structured in that sense of like checking things off the list and like being more organized. So like, I don't think that he is not goal oriented, but I think it just manifests a little bit differently. For me, again, being motivated about like being the best coach that I could be, it was just like a different type of challenge. Like coaching in the affiliate, coaching a class, coaching Jeff, programming for Jeff. Like if you want to be a retro, like there are different ways of manifesting a best typical coach. Like obviously what Jeff requires is not the same thing as in terms of skill and expertise, what you need to coach, to be a great coach in an affiliate.
Right. And I'm guessing you have to be first aware of it and then very much balance, but being balanced between, it's like, yes, our needs differ by degree, not by kind.
Exactly.
But you coach a games athlete, but then you have a 9:30 class that you got to manage as well.
Yeah.
So how does being flexible as a coach play into that?
Like you said, you have to be aware. And basically like what I tell my coach is like, you want to coach the people in front of you. So you have to be aware of what their needs are. And whether that's Jeff or, my mom of 3 kids that's coming at the lunchtime class and just like, in a rush to come in, get her workout, all of that, they still need this. They both need to see the value in what they're doing, right? With their time. So that doesn't change, right? I'm still going to teach you how to power clean, but like it needs to make sense for that person, and it needs to make sense for Jeff. Like they need to see that they're investing their time and their effort, and that's worth it, and that there's value behind it. So I think recognizing what they're going to see as most valuable. It's not what I think is most valuable for them. It's how they're going to interpret it.
Yeah, you're the one providing the value and trying to meet it where they're at.
Yeah.
So what was the story like of opening an affiliate in 2017? Because it's like you're just in that kind of 2016 to 2018 time frame where popularity of CrossFit was quite high, I would say, before things all in 2018 started to go topsy-turvy, and you were able to get a few years under your belt before COVID. So what was the process like for you for opening an affiliate?
It was definitely harder than you think. You're like, oh, we'll open, people are gonna come, and like all my friends said they were gonna come, and then nobody comes. I mean, people come, but not like, I'm gonna get 50 members and you get 10, right? Like you have to be, I think, a little bit realistic. I definitely did not in 2017 felt like we missed the boat. I definitely felt like 2014 to 16 was when it was, or at least in Montreal or things like that. And even now, like 8 years in, kind of realizing even the trends like in 2017 where people like moving away to the suburbs or things like that, like as you own for longer, you can kind of like anticipate, like we definitely went from like younger 25 to 35, like people hitting the job market, and now it's like, oh, we like a lot of our members are having their first and or second baby, right? Like we're getting more families, we're getting more settled. So there's definitely like a trend. So when we opened in 2017, I think we thought we were going to have more of a boom because it felt like, we should have been on that upward trajectory. And then in the numbers, like it wasn't.
Right.
So it was hard, like that psychologically, and like the stress of like making ends meet and like all of that. And like, are people going to come? And then like you get your first year in, you make it past your first year, and that's exciting. And then second and third. And by the third year, like we were doing great, felt like we were hitting our stride. And then with everyone else in the world got hit by COVID. So that was like a little bit hard, but COVID was good, quote unquote, for us.
Where your current location, I was at the summit that you hosted, I believe, 2 years ago now. Is that your first and only location?
Yeah. So we were in the same building. It's a very big and odd shaped building. So we have 2 spaces, 2 separate doors, but it's in the same building. It's just to be able to connect, we would need to rent like a third space that's already rented by, another company and things like that. So it's like, we can't go on the inside. We have to go outside.
What I want to describe to those listening, like what part, because I know nothing about it. I mean, I took an Uber there and an Uber out. What part of Montreal, what that part of Montreal is like, because I think some might, other affiliate owners who hear this might say, oh, well, you're in a big city. Like, how can it not be easy to just, is like, so what area of Montreal are you in?
So we're in it's called the Southwest, but like we're south of downtown. So we're not in the hub of like business, accounting, lawyers, like downtown-ish, like all the stores. We're south of that. We're in close to an area that was getting rapidly developed, which is Griffintown. It had been like, basically left vacant for almost 50 to 60 years, and then started to get redeveloped by, condos, redevelopment, a little bit. I think what, Toronto also went through that little building boom, but we're not in that. We're like, again, a little bit south of that. So we're close to residential areas, but we're not in residential areas. So we're really close to the Lachine Canal, which was a lot of industrial space, things like that. So we're close to people, but we're not like amongst them, which I think like a lot of original CrossFit spaces were old industrial places that you had to drive to, or, weren't necessarily close to people.
Yeah. So you didn't have, like, as I'm hearing, like just a bunch of foot traffic where you could put out a sandwich
Exactly.
board
None.
sign. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when, as you said, like it wasn't a if you build it, they will come thing. Where did you start to think like, okay, we're going to have to do something to start growing this thing so it can be supportive to us?
I mean, we did a lot of things just by hand, like just taking what are they called?
Like a brochure?
Like a brochure, like a postcards, and
Sure.
literally hand delivering them in Point St. Charles or Griffintown, like any door, any mailbox that I could find, I would go and deliver them and do that like 1, 2, 3 hours a day, and just like do that for some promotions like a couple times a year. Obviously, like once people were coming in, word of mouth, referrals, like that always helped. And then depending, because we had the first 5 or 6 years a lot of construction around us, so either traffic was being diverted towards us or away from us. So same thing with the foot traffic. So we had to, like, the summers where traffic was lining up, it was easy. The garage door was open. People were seeing that people were training. Like, oh, eventually it's like, oh, I've been passing by here for like 3 to 6 months. It's like, I'm finally coming in. And it's like, okay, cool. So, but it would be like that one summer and then not the other, because the traffic would be diverged away from the gym. So then they would be like more quiet. So it was definitely a struggle in that sense. But we were, also lucky, like I said, with, luck, just referrals, right? You give a good enough service, ideally people come, like, you transform people's life. They're happier, they're fitter, they're healthier. They're going to want their friends to do the same and their family members to do the same.
And I feel like that's, it can be easy to try to find a circumstantial reason why it won't take off or why it won't work. But what you're saying is, like, you already said it, you have to coach the people that are in front of you and care about them. And so
you have to give it time, just like you look at any company, like the more time you give it with the right tools, with the right, everything, like infrastructure behind it, operating it, but you just have to be patient and give it time. So I think there is a little bit of that also, that, we were patient and that we weren't like demoralized after 6 months because we had like 22 members. It's like, well, we're at 22, but that's more than 0, right? And if we double that by the end of the year, we'll be at 44. So, kind of just every little PR that we have on the board, like it all counts, and just like celebrate that, and like, keep doing what you're supposed to be doing well. That doesn't mean like rest on your laurels and do nothing in terms of marketing and promotions and like all of that, but at least like make sure that the coaching service that you're providing is top notch.
And so how did those early days set the tone for where you guys are now?
I'm very grateful that I coach at a lot of different other gyms, because I think it gives you a sense of like what you do like, maybe what you don't like. CrossFit Montreal is one of the first 50 boxes. So a lot of the OGs, like same thing, CrossFit Cap Up. Like I was lucky to coach at some of the oldest boxes around me. And so get some of that like true community feel, and like what's the standard, maintain the standard, and like all these things that I was like something that we still do today. Like when you arrive at the gym, you say hi to everybody, and when you leave, and even if I'm coaching, even if we're in the warm-up, somebody I hear the door, it's hi or bye, right? Like I want to acknowledge that you're here, and I want it to feel like, you're coming in and out of your house. Like it's things like that I think set us up for where we are 8 years later.
Now, with your travels, with competition schedules and whatnot, do you get to drop into other affiliates?
Not really, which is a shame. But like when we go and compete, like that's what we do. We go and compete. And if I need to be sitting on the couch and like wait for Jeff, like I'll wait for Jeff. So I think once that is done, like we'll have a little bit more fun with our CrossFit. Not that it's not fun right now, but when he's competing, like that's our job, and like everything is dialed in to make sure that we do that.
And that's fair, and that makes total sense. impetus behind the question was I was really intrigued by what you said about being able to be at different affiliates and be like, oh, I like a little of this, I like a little of that. I took over my affiliate in 2019, and at that point, that was I had been to 3 affiliates prior. And I was like, okay, I liked this about this one. I hated this about this one. If I ever owned an affiliate, I would do it the complete opposite. And sometimes if you only come from one affiliate, you kind of miss out on the beauty of the affiliate model, which is we're all free to do it the way we want to do it.
Yeah.
And so then in that case, on a flip side question, what is important to you in your affiliate? As you already said about greeting people, and what are some other kind of important aspects? I want to say values. I mean, if we want to use values,
I think that for me personally, and I hope it comes out as Wonderland and everybody that's coaching, like throughout the years, I think our goal is to make sure that people can be independent with their fitness. And so like, I know when if somebody teaches me to push press, I can teach it to someone else. Like when I teach you something, I want you to be able to retain it. It's now yours and you can pass it on to someone else. If in other affiliates that I was coaching, like if I'm leaving for the week or if something is off, like I know that like during the pandemic, I know that people knew how to train, knew how to squat, knew how to invent a workout, right? Like stay consistent, like be motivated with the fact that and inspired with the fact that no matter what you do today, you do something to make sure that your fitness and your health is a little bit better for the next day. And we have a very long-term approach to health and movement and all of that.
The teach a man a fish versus give him the fish approach.
Yeah. Which like it was also harder because like it's easy to do the tactile cue and put you in the right position and like this is how you squat and let me put you there. And it's like, how can you'll have to work for it. But once you understand like I'm transmitting more of that ability to be independent. And that's what we want. Like part of our mission statement and our values is that people are able to enjoy their life until they're 70, 80, 90, like however old, hopefully we all live, you're able to enjoy it. But if I'm giving you all the answers, how much are you actually retaining, right? Like, I want to teach you how to fish.
Mm-hmm. And how does that pass on to your coaches?
I mean, from what I can tell, I think they buy into the idea. That's how they also coach. Like we're all very proud when people leave the gym and, they tell us that they're at another gym. They've joined another CrossFit gym and all the coaches are like, oh my God, you move so well. Or, oh, like you're so good. You're even your personality, like the leadership that people come because like, that's how we instructed them, like how to behave in the class. And, you don't put your weights away before everybody's done. And like, we cheer each other on, but it's things like that like, when you go to another gym that ideally they bring with them and that, we get that feedback back from no matter who's coaching.
Well, and that's what's cool. And so clearly it's like, okay, you have these values that are set, but you're leading by them and and you're clearly passing them on to your coaches, right? As I was talking with someone else on the podcast and saying how I was reading the book Legacy, and they say leaders create more leaders.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're the leader in your community, in your affiliate, but how important is it for you to build other leaders as well?
I mean, you do that with the coaches, but I always talk about Wonderland as a team, like the athletes, the people that come to the gym, like they're part of that team. They're part of being leaders as well. And we hear about stories when they drop into other boxes and it's like, oh, it's not as clean. I couldn't find the dumbbells. I couldn't find this, the warm up. I didn't feel like I was warm, but like they knew what to do to get ready to snatch, right? They knew what to do if their shoulders weren't feeling like they were ready to, attack the workout. So that's what I mean by like creating athletes who are independent enough that like, even if it's not what you need, you can take care of yourself.
Mm-hmm. So I guess what I'm hearing then, it's not your community, but rather it's a culture that you're building.
Mhm.
at Wonderland with that.
Very much.
How would you differentiate those two things? Because I think a lot of affiliate owners or coaches say our community's so great, our community's so great. But I always say, like, right, yeah, but
Which
your
they
culture,
all are. They are. Like, we should be saying that. And it's not a competition. Like, I want, like, someone, like I said, like, people are going to move away, right? Like, you're going to have a family, you might move away, your job might take you somewhere else. Like, I want to make sure that the time that you spend here is well spent, but also that I give you enough incentive and inspiration that you're going to take that little flame and bring it somewhere else and keep on going. And so, yes, all our communities should be great in their own way. And every culture in that community is going to be different. And hopefully you bring a little bit of Wonderland, but then you're also open enough to buy into the new gym's culture, because they obviously have things that they can bring to you. And that's the beauty of the affiliate model. And that's the same thing when people come to our gym, right? Like, we are not, like, the way we structure things, the way we operate, like all of that, whether it's, at the affiliate level, like Wonderland, or just like all the coaches all have different personalities. Like, it's the same thing. It's like, you want to be open enough to integrate some of the new things, but also don't lose what you had from, like, your previous gyms, because ideally they had something valuable that they were providing for you.
yeah, I like that. So, like, you're open to, and maybe that is a more of a city mentality. It's like, hey, we're a bunch of individuals who have unique experiences and whatnot. We come together and we have these guiding principles of, be kind to each other, be whatnot, but let's also celebrate who we are as individuals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have a very diverse group at Wonderland. People from all over the world that speak many different languages, many different religions. So I think there's a little bit, like, I grew up in this city, like, the multiculturalism of Canada, like a little bit of that, of like, there's beauty in difference, and there's beauty in unity, but like, there's beauty in both. So let's enjoy it.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah, because it's like, it's, I guess, I think a lot about culture versus community, but then you also, what I don't think culture is like putting your gym, and it's not that there's anything wrong with having gym rules on the wall, but being like, hey, these are our rules, as opposed to, it's like, no, I mean, culture is how you express those rules.
Mm-hmm.
And it's again, from that book Legacy, they say, like, everyone sweeps the sheds, like in rugby, right? Like, the All Blacks, the top leaders of the team, once everything's done, they do, before they leave, they sweep the sheds.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a culture thing.
Yeah. And we still clean the gym. The coaches still clean the gym. Everybody's, it's a part of that. And same thing with the athletes. We're past COVID, but everybody's still cleaning the barbells and, like, cleaning the dumbbells and making sure when you're putting the wall balls, it's, number forward. And it's those little things, like, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And where it's that attention to detail that you can see. It's like, well, it's not just in my coaching, because if you have dirty bathrooms and, like, okay, you're a great coach, but it's like, well, your bathrooms are still dirty. It's like, well, if you want to be a great coach, make sure your bathrooms are clean, make sure the equipment is in order, everything is clean, everything is properly placed. So it's all those little things. And then, like I was saying, like, I view the people that come and do the classes, like our athletes, as part of the team. So even when we have a new coach, you've been here longer than them, so they are new to the culture. Like, we need to share our culture with them, because they can be a great coach, but they're not going to learn everything overnight. So that cultural thing, it has to be and stay within Wonderland, and we're all transmitting it all the time. It's not just me, it's everyone.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. And because I'm guessing you need to be on the road a little bit more now than what you were when you first started. And so that means
Especially this year, it's going to be a big season.
Right. And so there you go. Right. And so it's almost, it seems like, whether it was more good luck or good planning, but by necessity or by design, it's like, you can't be there to be the one to enforce these things every day. And so we are a team. And so the team supports when its captain, I guess, has to go off. And so, was it always smooth sailing, or was there things you had to learn along the way as you started traveling more with Jeff?
Um, I think that like we're very consistent people, and I think the way we did things, at least at Wonderland, was so consistent that like when we left, like we're not worried. And like
Yeah.
people will send this like DMs and they're like, the gym's on fire, like the bathrooms are dirty, whatever. I'm like, I know it's a joke. Like you can't even like get me to buy into that. There's things like
Right.
that where because we wouldn't let things slide, which is harder on the spot, right? It's like, I need to correct you. I need to do this. I need to make sure, but we do it over and over and over again. And so then becomes intrinsic that people are going to do it. So when we do leave for competition, we know that we can rely on our coaches, rely on our members. Like people are going to come together, and that takes off a lot of stress so that we can be away and not like I'm never worried about Wonderland because I know the people have each other. Like that to me is what a team is, right? Like they have her back whether I'm here or not. Like they're
Mm-hmm. Well, I feel like it is the ultimate test of, again, whether you're coaching or your or culture or your community is like to be able to leave and know it'll be okay when you get back, or as opposed to like, when the cat's away, the mice play.
yeah, no, we don't. I mean, the first time you leave, and I guess the same thing with parents, like the first time you leave, you're going to be nervous, like obviously, but it's one thing to be nervous. It's another to like, just because of the experience of being away, it's another to actually be worried about being away or like, always having your focus and your energy being pulled away. That we've never had that. And that's very, lucky with the team that we've had around us like, over the years.
Mm-hmm. So with as much stuff as you have going on, and then with Jeff winning the games, you still within that time frame it was important to you to pass the level 4.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it could be easy to claim you're too busy or have too much going on to put that
Yeah.
out there. So
Uh,
what was that process like for you?
I think like, again, his goal, like eventually, like the best that he can do as an athlete, winning the CrossFit games, competition scenario is going to evolve over time. But like, that's the pinnacle for me as a coach, like with my career, like for him, being an athlete is a career. That's what you want to reach. For me, it's how high can I take this? So I was always on the lookout. The timing, I wish we had the level 4 a couple years ago before we made it to the 23 games and all of that. But timing is everything. So eventually, like I was always kind of ready and developing. Like I wanted to pass the level 4, didn't know what it was going to look like and all of that. So making sure that my coaching, my knowledge, like I'm lucky because I can also I'm on the translator team, so I translate level 1, level 2s, like always reread the level 1 at least once a year. Like I'm always kind of like keeping my head down and making sure that I'm reviewing my knowledge. So when I had the opportunity to do the level 4, I was like, okay, how soon can I do this? Like had to do it twice, failed the first time. And I was like, I'm fine with that. Like I want to make sure that I get it done. I get the experience. If I pass, I pass. If I fail, I fail. But like I wanted to do it because no matter what, it's the training to get there that gets you better. You only get the paper, right? The level 4 is just, it's the proof, but you get better as the coach because you're going to attend your level 2. You're going to study for your level 3. Studying for level 3 is going to make you a better coach. The paper just tells you that you passed the exam. It's the same
Mm-hmm.
thing with the level 4. If you're striving towards that, the journey is what is going to improve you as a coach. The paper simply says you passed the exam.
Well, and you said it so fast, and your face didn't even change. As you said, you failed the first go, but it didn't phase you in your goals.
No.
So how was your reaction to your first fail, and then what was your how did you turn that, or well, what was your next step forward, I guess, is a better question after that.
I was very conscious of how I wanted to attack the first one.
Okay.
Um, like I have my bachelor's degree in education. Like I know when you're teaching, what they're looking like, all of that. Same thing. I have a college degree in physiotherapy. So like I'm used to performance exam where you have to like prove everything. I very much wanted to see if how I was teaching classes, if that was enough to pass.
Okay, so let me pause.
Yeah, go ahead.
So what I'm hearing, because I think people might find this interesting, is you were more or less kind of curious to say, is the way I coach just a regular Monday at my affiliate? Is that up to what they want to see at the level 4? So you didn't go in and like,
I still prepared, make sure that like, I did my lesson plan, make sure everything was obvious. I didn't just like show up and wing it. No,
but you did the things you did as a coach.
Kind of. So I was like, is this, and then, but and that's the thing. I know it's an exam. I know they're looking for certain things, but is the way that I'm coaching, like, does that match the exam? And so the answer was no, and that's fine. And I went back and I'm like, okay, I need to be more specific about certain deliveries and like, obviously the points that I missed in the exam, and I wasn't off by much. But then it was just like, okay, I'm just trying to pass the exam. So it is a little bit different in terms of like, do you want to coach this way? Like the way you have to pass the level 4, is that how you want to coach? Or are you like proving the points of performance, like checking boxes? Because that it's an exam, it's an examination. You need to prove that you know the material that you're delivering. Like you can see, like, well, how do they know that you're seeing the fault that they're seeing or not seeing, or things like that? So there's a little bit of theater going on there to make sure that they are aware of what you're seeing, correcting all of that.
Would you consider yourself a strategist?
Define a strategist.
I don't know if I have it, but like you're just, even the way like you approach, because like I took the level 4 and failed a year ago in December. I described it as taking a bucket of Lego, spreading it over the gym, and then having to coach in your bare feet. But you're like you're almost like it was this big chess match, and I know it obviously wasn't, but like you're just so analytical about it. And so like but then I think of like, we're talking about back to the 2020 games, like coaching Jeff, there's a certain strategy that has to go into your athlete. So, it's clearly you're somewhat analytical and take what's in front of you and kind of find the strategy for it.
I think that one of the biggest thing is that tends to surprise people. Like I want to fail, because the faster you fail, the usually quicker you'll get to success, right? Like I'd rather do it wrong 100 times than not do it and then try one. Like people prepares for so long. Like I prepare, I want to make sure that I'm on par, but I'm also not afraid to take the risk and just like not reach it, because you're going to learn something out of that experience anyway. And so I think that I don't want to say I rush things, but I'm definitely quicker on certain things than others. And then I'm very quick also to turn it around. So like once I failed, once I got, you get the feedback, you talk with the person, you go over the exam, how can you improve? And I was like, all right, like now I know. You also get a better roadmap of like what you need to improve and what you need to work on. So I actually got feedback on that to perform better for the exam, but also for my coaching.
Right. Well, and that's what translates, because we are in this owner operator world. Like it translates back to entrepreneurship and affiliate ownership, because it's like, well, what if I fail? But you're saying it's like, well, yeah, if I fail, like, and so it's like taking this ready, fire, aim approach.
I can't hear you. Oh.
Okay, tech support has been in. We are back in action. What we were talking about before my mic died, or the point I was trying to get to, is in affiliate ownership, it can be scary, and trying new things can be scary, and it can be scary to do something new or try something, because what if you fail? But realizing failing doesn't make you a failure.
Yes, for sure. And it also provides some of the answers. And sometimes we don't fail in the way that we expect, or, the lesson isn't also what we thought we were going to get. Like, I think every experience is valuable and you get to learn from all of that. And it's the same thing, like when you get, people who just did their level 1 and they're like, what's the right cue? What's the best cue? And it's like, just say something. Like at this point, just say something, anything. It'll either work or it won't. And if it doesn't, then just find something else, right? And if it does, great. But to just be looking at someone doing reps, are they doing it well? Or are they not? Can they move better? Can you improve something? Give them some sort of feedback, because that will provide feedback for you. So it's the same thing as an owner. It's like, well, maybe you did something and it didn't turn out the way you did, but did you learn something from it? Can we take that, but make it a little bit better? Or do we need to scratch the idea altogether? But if you don't test it, like if you don't show me, like you don't have your muscle up, okay, well, can you show me a muscle up? And if you're not willing to show me one, well, what do you want me to coach you on? Right? So like I have to set you up potentially for you to fail, because I need to have some sort of information to be able to help you move forward. It's the same thing. Like you might as well do something and then you get information on how you can now get better. Oh, you're not pulling low enough. You're not pressing when you transition and you're falling through the rings. Like you need that information in order to know how to move forward and how to make the situation better. So not doing anything isn't necessarily good.
Yeah. And I mean, the result can dictate so much in that regard, right? And you can even like kind of parallel, and it would be interesting to hear the parallels, especially from his coach yourself, is how is Jeff's results from the various games lead up to 2023?
And I mean, for CrossFit, it's hard because every year the test changes. So, and that's where, same thing in the gym, maybe you don't see the result that you want on the leaderboard or the score that you want at the end of the workout, but maybe like, oh my God, your squats were so much better today. Or like, oh my God, like you managed to like PR by 5 double unders. Like, okay, fine, you're not where you wanted to be. So it's a little bit the same thing with him. Like if you look at, his placement on the leaderboard, the placement is one thing, but what he was exposed to every year is different. Do we still manage to see some improvement? Right. So it can't just be like one for one. You have to dig and actually look like, did you improve or did you not? Because the leaderboard is just one of many aspects, especially at the CrossFit Games at that level of someone's fitness. And you'll hear like, not just Jeff, like a lot of the other coaches, a lot of the other athletes, like CrossFit works. And if you keep doing it, they usually show up fitter and fitter every year. It doesn't translate on the leaderboard, but they do feel fitter. They are performing better. Like they'll find kind of that silver lining. And that's something that, I think everybody can kind of relate to.
Well, so it's interesting, like the test changes every year, but the test subjects technically like do and don't change. And right. And so you're saying like in a vacuum, if Jeff was the only one who got to train for a year, then of course we should see some sort of improvement on the leaderboard. But at the same time, it is subject in the world we live in. It's also subjective to how much the other people have trained and dove into this stuff.
Yeah, and then just like how much pulling versus pushing, how much squatting versus deadlifting. Like the test is always going to prove, well, at the CrossFit Games, the test is always going to prove who the fittest, because the full test is going to highlight who is the fittest. But year to year, you can see differences in terms of volume, movement, what's the new implement this year, and that's going to affect people's strengths and weaknesses just from their sporting backgrounds and things like that. So you're still going to get the fittest at the end, but the test does change year to year.
Interesting. That's cool. So I have a 2-part question. I'll ask the first part, and then hopefully we can kind of see where the second part going is. How has coaching the world's fittest man made you a better coach in your affiliate classes?
You have to spot things way faster. So like seeing Jeff, and that's something like even like judging him for the open or semis or any qualifier or anything like that, I can't ask him to slow down so that I can see whether he's missed, like, meeting the standard. And so the standard is one thing in terms of like competition, but it's also like, can I see hip extension? Well, my eye is trained for Jeff's speed movement, right? And repetition. So things like that have definitely helped me because I had to train my eye for even more minute faults and make sure that he was moving well, so that he can stay efficient and all that. So when you get into a classroom setting, it's like when you see that train wreck squat in your level 1, it's like nobody does that. And it's like, okay, well, that's what it like, not what it looks like, but like that's almost kind of like the exaggeration of like I can see things better because I'm, trained so far on the other side.
Well, and that almost it answers my question, because I was going to say, how is being a better coach in a class helped you coach the world's fittest man?
That I would say, like, apart from the movement, like the person, like understanding, like every athlete that comes into our gym is different. Jeff is no different. So like having all these different conversations, like how are other people learning best, or how can I, get more buy-in from, Anne versus Pierre, and like just understanding individuals, the better you are at doing that. Well, now I'm better at, coaching Jeff psychologically. Right. So there's a lot of transfer that goes from one to the other.
Interesting. But, but I am curious about how important in your training, and when I say your training, I mean like how you and Jeff work together. How important is movement quality?
Very.
Yeah.
For me, for the box, like I think that's something that he is proud of, that I am proud of. Like when you listen to commentators, like when you see Jeff move, like Jeff moves well, and it's definitely something that we've always, both had as a goal. It's like we're not willing to take shortcuts or like not squat properly and all of that. Like we wanted to master movement, and obviously to varying degrees because he is competing against other people. So like there's definitely trade-offs at some point of like how perfect is his air squat going to be. But that's the competitive side. Like definitely when he stops, like, yeah, if there's things that we can make sure that he, can move better, we'll do it. Because there are things that's like, well, this meets competition standard. And it's like, I want your elbows right here. And he's like, there. Right. And I'm like, okay, well, like, you also need to win. So there's the standard of the movement. Are you staying safe? Like all that. We're never going to totally ditch it, but there is a little bit more of give and take for him because like everybody else is not slowing down, whereas like in class, like, the standard is the standard. I want you to be, for the standard of the movement and not move towards competition standard. Right. So same thing with handstand push-ups. And we all know with the open and things like that, like the handstand push-up standard has changed dramatically over the years. And it's like, well, if you look at like gymnastics, like what is the standard? Are you in a tripod position? Is your body straight? Like, are you keeping your feet together? And it's like, I'm not giving up because like you can ask Jeff, like I'm still asking him to put his feet together when he's doing handstand push-up. But if the standard is to keep his feet inside his shoulders, he's like, oh, I need to go fast. Like doing that is going to slow me down. So we can still train it. But at some point, there are things that I have to let go that I won't in the classes.
Well, it sounds a lot like threshold training. And it just sounds like CrossFit is CrossFit, like you can try to think about how big it can get, but it's like, no, it's still the kernel. Like you're saying mechanics, consistency, and then intensity.
Of course.
And then there is an element of where threshold training in the box is different than competition, but the difference of seconds over the course of multiple rounds is the difference of a heat win or not, or an event win or not.
Yeah.
But like you said, like the elbow position is different as opposed to it's still like, no, you're missing hip extension. You're missing power. So
and those are the things that helped like make sure that we were working on mechanics, and we still are. It's not because like even after the 2023 games, and like you can go look at posts on Instagram and things like that, it's like he was working with a PVC, right? He was doing straight pull-ups. Like he was still like, we always kind of revisit that positioning, make sure that we're not, you know, moving away from anything gross and anything like that. So this, like I said, the standard is the standard, whether it's in the class or Jeff. Like I don't make exception because like, oh, he's a games athlete, like he doesn't need this. Like everybody needs this. Everybody needs to move well. So
how does that translate to his competition season from an element of just his body? In the sense of like moving better with better technique is also going to be more safe. And, you know, so does that translate to his ability to withstand a competition or even a competition season without feeling like, okay, I'm limping across the finish line on this one?
Oh, they won't say it, but they're all broken on the inside and the outside. And that's like, in the warm-up area, it's like, you know, they're all a little bit banged up, but I think any professional athlete at some point, like something's going to hurt. You have to work around something, and they're all professional athletes. So they're all doing their best dealing with, I don't want to say an injury, but like nags, like, you know, their body doesn't feel great every day, but, you know, also like you and me, it's just to a different degree because they're using it that much more. And, you know, even if your shoulder hurts, you're still going to have to do all the pulling and pushing. So there's a little bit of that, but obviously moving better is going to help, but sometimes we have to work around certain things. And that's fine. And it's just like, again, like just like in the box, like if somebody has, you know, a shoulder injury, well, then just use a dumbbell, or can I put you in a better position, or does this movement hurt versus the other? And just always figuring out how we can work with that as opposed to like around it and ignoring it or things like that.
Yeah, going away from it altogether. So what you've kind of alluded to it. What excites you about this game season?
I think just kind of seeing where it all goes. We have the online semis. We're going to have like a bunch of semifinals in person. Just kind of looking forward to see how it all unfolds. Like this season is very different from last year where we only had like 3 weekends. Everybody was going at the same time. So that will kind of be interesting to see how that goes.
What position is he going to end up at the end of the CrossFit Games?
I don't know. We have goals. So the goal is, but, and that's something that we don't take lightly. Like, oh, we're going to win, or like, we want to win. Like everybody wants to win. Right. And I follow the men's side much more closely than the women's side. So the men's field is very tight. And so we hope, like, we're working and we're doing everything that we can to make sure that we're setting ourselves up to be in, you know, a podium position or be able to win. But that men's field is deep and people are hungry. And so I think that is going to also make it very exciting to see what happens at the games this year.
I'm interested in because you're arguably more immersed now in the competition field than ever, but we're in this almost, would you say we're in this kind of almost third wave, the start of a third wave of competition? You know, like I was just watching, I think something from the 2013, it was the 21-15-9 complex from 2014, right? So Rich Froning, Kenneth Lovrich, Kyle Kasperbauer, Dan Bailey, and then who was in his anyway, but you had, you know, Brent and Pat start to come in, but now as they're on the way out, we got this new batch. And so what's this third wave like, and what does it say about the methodology in a way?
Well, I mean, I think the third waiver is all the younger athletes than Jeff. Like Jeff feels very much like the middle child, or for us, it feels very much like that. Like you have the, you know, 2010 to 2014, very early Carson, but then the 2014 to 2018 that everybody kind of remembers. And then there's like 19 to kind of 21, 22 because of COVID and everything that happened. It was just like, And now you see all the Dallins and the Sprague and the Miguel, and like they were all competing in the CrossFit teens and getting there. So, I mean, ideally, if they love it, enjoy it, their body's holding up, you know, because we're doing mechanics, consistency, intensity, that we're going to see a different evolution in terms of like the competition. And I don't know what that's going to look like. But you know, Jeff will probably not be there by the time that they get there. I'm looking forward to, I would say, the 4th and 5th wave. I'm looking forward to like the games in 10 to 15 years to kind of see like what are we doing, right? Like how fast are people running? What are the gymnastic skills that we're able to do now? You know, the ring handstand push-ups could come back in like 10 years, because like, why aren't people training them now? Like we should know that we're working on the foundations and all of that. I don't think that the crop of athletes now would make it look good, better potentially in 2013, 14, whenever we had the ring handstand push-ups, right? But is that what we want to show the world? Or we want to wait another 10 years and be like, this is what CrossFit, what CrossFitters can do? And so I think there's like an evolution that should keep happening in terms of just what we're able to do.
So pushing the quite literal threshold training of human performance and seeing where we can go from there.
Yep.
And what are you excited this year about for your affiliate?
Ooh, what I'm excited about, I think it's always been the same, and it's just this quiet consistency, like just kind of sitting by a stream and just watching and hearing the water go by. Like people keep showing up every day, putting their best foot forward, and you know what, in another 360 days you're going to have PR, you're going to be better than you were at the beginning of the year. And you know, it's not always loud, it's not always glamorous, but if you take the time to compare, you know, 1 year back, 2 year back, 3 years back, like if you look back, you're going to see that you've improved. And that's amazing. And that's what I look forward to, is just like sharing those days, you know, day in and day out, and being able to look back at the end of the year. Like we've celebrated our 8th year anniversary. And by doing that, it's like, oh, we've had people that are with us for like 6-7 years. We also have people who, you know, 1 week in, they're like, oh my God, like, and comparing and contrasting. It's like, well, yeah, if you stay here for 5 years, like that person looks impressive to you. Well, you know, they were in your shoes 5-6 years ago. Like, where do you want to be? Just keep showing up and you'll be surprised. And that's what I'm looking the most forward to.
Love it. And on that note, 3, 2, 1,